Misogyny is defined as dislike of, contempt for, or ingrained prejudice against women. The thing about the term misogyny is that when you bring it up to someone who doesn't believe that women are mistreated because of their sex, they immediately shut down. Misogyny is a liberal word. Misogyny is not a word that describes the reality that they think they live in. But to be truthful, we all know that there is a systematic hatred of women. It exists. We see it in our peers, our fathers, our brothers, our friends, in the workplace, and even from ourselves. So today I want to start a series about what does the hatred of women look like?
Running at night, walk at night, late night walks.
I don't know. You kind of put me on the spot.
Dark out when it's dark outside. Solo travel. I want. Run around naked.
I genuinely don't know. I think this is more to...
I've been to over 13 countries in the past 2 years, and for the most part, I've traveled alone. But in every country, I've always had to remember the same rules. Don't leave your drink unattended. Don't tell too much about yourself to strangers. Don't leave the hostel alone. Try to come back before it's too dark, before the streets are too empty. Remember what could happen to you. Because, of course, if something happens, it won't be the man who did it who gets blamed. It will be me. Because women are supposed to change the way they live their lives to cater to the fact that men commit these acts of violence against women. And I think this video is painful in a way, because pretty much every answer a girl gave was, I would like the freedom to exist and not have to worry about assault. And of course, men have never had to confine themselves to a world where there's danger lurking around every corner. They haven't had to make the world smaller for their own safety. And as much as many try to pretend otherwise, the danger is not in our heads. It's very, very real.
Now, Matt Bellinger is out of prison. You know, the guy that was organizing a nationwide rape war after Roe v. Wade was overturned to make more white babies, targeting white cities where abortion is illegal. Click on this comment and watch the video. That's why I was banned last year for reporting on this, because Google didn't even have it in the search. The group was literally called Rape Krieg, which means rape war in German. And any men that tried to defend us, like our husbands or brothers or sons, they were going to kill them. Please watch my previous video. I searched his name on the federal site. Yep, that's his age. He was released on the 6th of June. How the fuck is he getting released? Please save this video because I don't know how long it's going to be up, and share this everywhere. He had organized attacks on synagogues. He was going to annihilate non-white areas to make more white Americans and less minority Americans. These were organized groups nationwide. They were finding the flyers, recruiting people nationwide. They were doing drills. They were using military equipment. Please watch my previous video. So he had been stationed on a base in Hawaii when this was discovered by the FBI. Then they found him in his mother's basement in Long Island when he was hiding from the FBI. But I guess they expedited him back to Hawaii and kept him in federal prison there. But no, he's out now. He's out after less than a year. And why is this the only picture of him online at all? And it was in a small community newspaper. Nobody is reporting on this, because if we knew, they would have to reverse the overturn of Roe versus Wade, and they can't have that because extremists are in power in this country. Looks like the police officers are in on this too. A New York police officer purchased an assault rifle for him. Why are the New York police in on this? Save and share this everywhere. I don't know how long this video is gonna be up.
It's a universal truth that men hurt women. It's a universal experience to have your mother tell you to be careful going out at night, that you're wearing clothes that are provocative, to try to protect you from the actions of others. If women were able to form a class consciousness, they'd realize, well, we have a lot more in common than we have in difference. Maybe it looks different how they hate us, how they hurt us. But the hatred and the hurting, it's everywhere. It crosses all borders, all party lines. It does not matter what race you are, what race he is. It does not matter how he identifies, what he dresses like. It does not matter.
Assalamu alaikum.
वालेकुम सलाम।
How come you're covering your face?
देखें ये अगर जब इंटरव्यू आप ले रहे हैं मुंह तो छुपाना पड़ेगा, अगर खुल मुखला तो हम नहीं बता सकते। जुर्म किया है, शर्म तो आता है ना।
I know there was an incident with your wife in which you poured acid on her. I was wondering if you could talk to me about how that happened.
लेकिन वो कपड़े इस किस्म के पहन रही थी कि जैसे आप समझ लें कि फैशन या वो बेहुदा किस्म का, जिससे इंसान का जिस्म ढांपा ना जाए, नज़र आ रहा हो। लेकिन मोहल्ले वाले, बिरादरी वाले, हर बंदा मुझे ना आके वो बेइज्जत कर रहा था कि तुम बगैरत हो चुकी हो, तुम अपनी वाइफ को मना नहीं कर रहे हो। फिर हम ताना नहीं सुन सकते। ताना ऐसी चीज़ होती है कि आदमी या खुदकुशी कर ले, अपने आप को मार ले, या उसको मार दे।
You were just embarrassed.
जी, जी।
You care a lot about what other people think of you.
ये बहुत बुरी बात होती है कि आप चिढ़ जाएँगी, आपको गुस्सा आएगा। आपको गुस्सा दिलाया जाता था कि ये आप काम करें, ओके? इसको सीधा करते मैं हिम्मत हार चुका था। इससे फिर मुझे एक दिन ऐसा किया कि इसे मैंने बहुत मारा, फिर हम रज़नामे के लिए गए हैं। लेकिन फिर उसके बावजूद से वो बाज नहीं आई है। फिर उसके ना ऐसा काम किया, उसने अपने बाल कटा दिए हैं। जब बाल मैंने कटाया ना, फिर मैंने उसके ऊपर मैंने कहा, अच्छा जी, तूने ना किसी और के पास भी जाएगी तो ना ज़िंदा रहे, मैं तो ऊपर तेज़ाब फेंकता हूँ। तो उसको पता चल गया भई ये तेज़ाब फेंकेगा। जब मैंने उसे फेंका तो उसने ऐसे किया, ये जगह उसकी जला है, कपड़े जले और ये हाथ जला है उसका। फिर उसको मैंने फिर तलाक दे दी। मैंने कहा जाओ।
You couldn't just talk to her about it.
10 साल पे आप जो ना वो कितना आप रोएँगे, चीखेंगे, चिल्लाएँगे कि ये बंदा ठीक हो जाए, या आप ठीक हो या मैं ठीक हो जाऊँ। आप कोशिश करेंगे ना?
I wouldn't have done the same thing. Did you think your wife was beautiful?
जी, माशाल्लाह खूबसूरत थी वो।
One of the worst parts of being a woman and facing abuse like this is that often the women around you will uphold patriarchal values. They have such internalized misogyny. They feel unable to be safe unless they go along with these rules. They perpetuate them. And so the portrayal comes not just from the men who one would hope to trust and love and care for, and hope that they would care for you in turn, but from the women who you would hope would feel empathy for you, but for whatever reason choose instead to hurt you, to harm you, to help the men in your life hate you.
There was a thing in the 90s called the bride burning, which meant there was a lot of brides being burnt in the area I lived. And what I mean by that is they were giving their husbands baby girls. So the women from the community and the mother-in-laws and the father-in-laws would blame the bride, and they would pour petrol over the girl and set her on fire. And the police would turn up and disappear thinking it was a suicide. And they would say that they didn't know what to do. They didn't want to get mixed up in it. So I was literally dodging my father-in-law, because on the weekends he would tie me up with metal coat hangers around my ankles, and the metal would actually dig into my skin, and he would strip me so I couldn't move. I would sit there and soil myself because I couldn't use the bathroom. And I was really, really scared. I was scared of everything. I was very skinny because I had an eating disorder. Every time I would plate some food at the end of preparing a meal, my mother-in-law would throw it into the dustbin. And tell me, she would tell me to eat out of the bin, because she said it's not your father's house and you don't deserve to eat like one of them. And at first, I used to try and get food out of the bin because I was hungry. But then I just gave up. Sorry.
Yeah, she said she did a few things and then it was very erect, so she got on top.
This is... Okay, this is actually not funny, but like, it kind of is, because why the fuck is she crying happy tears that her son went to a brothel? Like, what is wrong with our society? What is wrong with these men? What is wrong with these women? Like, where do I even start? Should I start with the fact that women's bodies are seen as commodities, that you can just waltz into a brothel and get your needs met? Or are we gonna start with the fact that who the fuck even knows if he wanted this? Did he like actually consent to it? And then the third thing is, like, why would you air his business out, or like air the thing out that he did to the prostitute? Why would you air that shit out on the internet and just make an article and have it go around the whole world? And why are you as his mother crying happy tears? Oh my god, my son got laid. This is the best thing. Ugh. Like, of course, if you give a prostituted woman money, of course she's gonna have sex with him. because that's what prostituted women do, because they need the money. So why are you crying? Like, he found the love of his life. Like, you could have, I don't know, why didn't you set him up with somebody who was like genuinely interested in him, and not somebody who's prostituted and probably struggling insanely? Like, why are prostituted women seen as these commodities, as these objects? Like, it's so disgusting. But like, the fact that it's seen as fucking salvation of the universe, that this disabled dude slept with a woman that wouldn't have slept with him at all if he didn't give her any money. Like, what's so great about that? This is not great. And it's also insanely borderline creepy. Like, why are you even talking about this lady? Like, I can't.
I'm not a drama channel, so don't go giving this girl hate. After all, her bio does say positive vibes only. Quick follow-up question for you there, Clem. What's your barometer for positive vibes? Because you telling me to go change the fundamentals and of me and the structure of my face, not very positive, not very girl's girl of you. It'd be one thing, like, if you were telling me, hey, you'd look good with bangs or you'd look good with pink hair, but no, this is you telling me to change the way that I was born, just the way that I am. And I don't want to have to worry about that today. I don't want this on the forefront of my mind. I don't want yet another insecurity, which, like, is a repeated one. Like, I don't like the way that I look all the time. I don't want to have to constantly be doing this because of how people are just, like, assuming that I would look better. People are just, like, piecing me together. Like, this isn't Bella Porch's Build-A-Bitch, okay? Just let me do me. I don't want other women to come across my page and see this and try and be here for, like, a good old time, and me trying to make them laugh and give them, like, happiness, and then they see a comment like this.
Misogyny occurs in the East and the West, in Europe, in Asia, in North America, South America, any place on Earth where there is woman and there is man. Woman is placed beneath him. And, of course, it's not always acid attacks. It's not always being beaten. Sometimes it's just the little comments. Sometimes it's the small things that you don't always notice, that we don't always have the words for.
Why always
because I want to see that my mates will tell me how much of a dickhead you are.
They'll agree with me. It's tradition.
An argument breaks out after this woman refuses to take her fiancé's last name.
Do you know why people get married? It was the whole thing of the dad passing over the daughter to their mum.
Yeah, that was about centuries. We're in 2022, mate.
Yes, I know we are, but it's tradition. My mum wants a Catholic wedding. You want a big white wedding. You can't have a big white wedding without taking my name. Simple as that.
Well, I don't want your last name now.
Why? What's your reason? What valid reason have you got?
Do you want to take my last name?
Well, no, that's not
right, exactly. So why don't I want to take your last name?
What?
Well, I like my last name. I don't want to. Are we actually having an argument over this?
What about when we have kids? Whose name are they going to take then?
But we don't have kids at the minute, do we? So why are we even thinking about that?
Yeah, alright then. But we do want kids, don't we?
Yeah, but...
Don't we?
Well, yeah.
Well, exactly. So whose name are they going to take then if they're not going to take mine?
Well, I don't know. We'll decide that when it comes.
Well, no. Let's decide it now. It's important.
Oh, I can't be arsed with it.
I thought we had this idyllic thing about family, about our beliefs, and then you come out with, I don't want to take your last name. Why? What's wrong with it?
Well, my mate Em's got her own last name and she's happily married and they don't seem to have a problem.
Hey, Em, I couldn't give a shit about her. Well, why don't you, your reason, not Em's reason.
There's research that proves this exact point. A recently reported longitudinal study on children in Israel looked at the effects of very early teacher bias. With respect to the teachers, there was clear evidence of a systematic bias in favour of boys, with teachers over-assessing boys' ability and under-assessing the girls. One study in Scandinavia reported that women had to be 2.5 times more productive than men to get the same score on a points-based system for awarding postdoctoral fellowships. Only women applicants with a score of 100 impact points or more received equal competence ratings to any of the men, but the men they were equated with had scores of 20 impact points or less. Over 100 members of biology, chemistry and physics faculties at high-ranking universities were given application materials for the appointment of a student to a laboratory manager position. All the details were identical except that half the faculty were given applications with a male named John and half with a female named Jennifer. Significantly more of the faculty rated John as more competent and more hireable. They were also more prepared to offer career mentoring to John. The employers pitched twice as many men as women if the only information was appearance, and they stood by their decisions even when the woman performed better on a maths task.
And perhaps the worst part is that it's inescapable. It's so baked into our society. that it's pretty much impossible to find a place free of misogyny. Our traditions, our culture, going back as far as we can remember, the hatred of women, the placement of women as lesser than men, has and pretty much is impossible to divorce from human culture.
One of the hardest things to go through as a woman when you're studying history or religion is having to read about the heroes of the world, even in the world of spirituality, and see those men through the eyes of their wives and daughters. Because here we have Buddha, like he's praised, right, as this religious hero, and he left his wife and his son to become enlightened. So would his wife, who is raising his son without him, consider him to be enlightened? Martin Luther King Jr., bringing back the nonviolent aspects of Christianity into the social justice movement, an absolute ass to his wife and known womanizer. Leo Tolstoy, he gave me so much language about the void of nihilism and what he did to get through it, but his wife in her journals just writes about being dissatisfied in the marriage, that her husband didn't care about her, that all he cared about was his writings, and in his writings he'd talk about love, but he doesn't actually show any love or interest in her, and she died heartbroken. Gandhi's wife, oh my God, her story breaks my heart because Gandhi would embarrass her and publicly humiliate her and would give all this attention to these younger women who were pretty and sometimes Western, and they would just worship him, and he would write love letters to them, and he would just call her like publicly, my wife is difficult and she's petty, and she couldn't do anything about it because there were so many people claiming him to be so spiritual and great, and she's just trapped. The Bikram yoga guy who brings hot yoga and this kind of Indian spirituality to America has now fled the country because of all of his sexual harassment suits. Joseph Smith, the most important person for Mormonism, and this is a rich and powerful religion in America, and he's marrying men's wives. He's threatening hell on young girls if they didn't marry him, and the pain of Mormon polygamy still exists in the heart of Mormon women today because the current prophet has 2 wives, and so in the economy of heaven, men are more important than women, even today. And that's just the tip of the iceberg of the spiritual world. That's saying nothing about the broader world of, the first wife of Albert Einstein, where Einstein was an absolute dick, or Newton, the greatest genius of all time, and he's an ass to people, or the founding fathers and how they treated their wives and their mistresses and their slaves. And so there's this deep pain that maybe we don't need any more hero men. Maybe we don't need any more Buddhas and Einsteins and Gandhis and Thomas Jeffersons. Maybe the world needs men that aren't assholes to the women in their life and see them as like actual people. And we need maybe more men who don't want to go down in history for something like Alexander the Great, because studying history is just the study of men and their fear of death and their penises and their legacies, and it is on the back of the women in their lives. I would love to have a period in history where there were no more hero stories, because men were husbands and they were fathers, and so we didn't need to be saved by heroes anymore.
तो बलात्कार क्यों होगा? नहीं होगा. जब तक इनका खुला रहेगा तो बलात्कार ही होना है. हर किसी का मूड खराब.
When girls want to get married, they must drink their husband's foot wash to express loyalty, even if it's mixed with dirty water.
तो बलात्कार कहाँ होता था? नहीं. पहले नहीं होते थे.
تكون منتقبة ولابسة أسود وتشتكي. لابسة إسدال ونقاب أسود وتشتكي إنها بتعاكس. لأن كحل عينيكي باين فيطمع فيكي. لأن شرابك بيج وجلبابك قصير شوية يطمع فيكي. لأن شنطتك ذهبي فيها أحمر. لأنك مش لابسة جوانتي يطمع فيكي. احذري.
ينبغي على البنت ألا تلبس لباسا فاضحا أمام أبيها. يا جماعة بعض البنات أحيانا تكون في شبابها وجسمها جميل أحيانا ونحو ذلك، وتلبس لباسا ضيقا من هالبنطلونات والبلايز القصيرة وتخرج إلى أبيها. برضو أبوها شاب، ربما فتن بابنتها أعوذ بالله، وربما إذا سلم عليها أو قبلها أو ضمها يكون ربما أن الشيء.
ये गलती कैसे हो सकती है?
हो सकता है उसकी ये गलती है, उसने कुछ कपड़े ऐसे पहन रखे हों.
मतलब ये जो बलात्कार हो रहा है ये लड़कियां खुद भी करवा रही हैं.
आप देख लो, सब समझदार हैं.
आपको क्या लगता है ऐसे मर्द महिलाओं की इज्जत नहीं करते?
So this, ladies and gentlemen, is where we part. I've shown you only a glimpse of what misogyny is, but this is something. It's a look into the world as it truly is. This is what hatred of women looks like. I don't think this means that the fight for women's liberation is hopeless, or that we should give up, or that the battle is too hard and so we should focus on easier things. You have to act as if it were possible to radically transform the world, and you have to do it all the time. And you have to do things in your personal life. You have to make the change. Change does not fall from the sky like manna. It is something that you create. This, ladies and gentlemen, is where we part. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, let me know in the comment section down below. I know this video was heavier on the videos and less on the commentary, but I think that these videos speak for themselves, and I don't think that you really needed me to hold your hand to understand what the content was. I hope that this brings some conversations up for you, that you can start a conversation with those around you, that you may start thinking about things that you didn't previously. I hope that this video can at least inspire you to think about what change we need to see in the world to make it a better place, in a place where the hatred of women is less common than love for women.